Welcome back, guys. You're listening to swifTEA Podcast. We survived the 4th of July weekend without getting locked up, but we probably should have been.
Our next guest is a TV star on a hit show on A&E. He's helping make the lake a safer place for over 20 years. I recently found out he can sing, and we're lucky enough to have him keeping an eye on the beautiful lake of the Ozarks. Ladies and gentlemen, Lake Ozark Police Chief James Boren.
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Boren?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Boren.
absolutely.
Boren.
So
Like
we're
James Bond, Jason Bourne.
Jason
We weren't
Bourne,
sure.
yeah. Well,
Which
my
way we
name
were
tag
going.
on my uniform is just Jay Boren.
yeah.
And so a lot of people are like, wait a minute, what's your first name? And I'm like, yes, you're right. You guessed it. I taught him everything he knows. But no, it's not even
I'm
close.
the OG.
That's right.
Jay Bourne's
I
kind
wish.
of a rapper. Like
It
J. Cole,
is.
Yeah, it's kind of nice.
Well, thanks for coming on. And
For sure.
and,
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're glad to. I mean, we hear, obviously, we live here. We know all the ins and outs, but I'm sure you see a whole different side.
You know, there's a different side to the Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's good. And sometimes it can get a little, interesting. I will say.
Little Western.
Yeah.
What was it like this weekend with that storm that came in? Because we helped with that Get Down guide, and we were like talking to all the bar owners and everyone getting ready to like have the concerts and everything that was going on, and then it was like the worst timing for a storm I've ever seen.
Yeah.
On top of it being the worst storm I think I've ever seen down
For
here.
sure. I don't know if you
pretty
guys know Ethan Lee. He's a
Yeah.
friend of mine.
Yeah.
I was sitting out on his dock with our families when that storm rolled in.
Yeah.
And you could see that wall just coming
was crazy.
straight towards
Yeah.
us. And these boats, I mean, most people have probably seen the videos, but they were panicking, trying to get out of the way of
I
that
felt
storm.
so bad. I mean, I was
on a
like,
boat
my
at
gosh.
that
She was
time,
on.
and it was
Yeah, she was
terrifying.
out on one.
I've been in a situation like that once. It's interesting to say the
Yeah.
least.
We accidentally ended up at one of the best places to see it because we went to Paradise for lunch, and they have that crazy view. So it was like
Yeah.
a couple different angles, and it was like I felt like the south side of the lake, and then the north got smoked, but then the middle snuck. It was weird.
Yeah, it was
But
very,
just a
it was strange
mess.
how it came
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. So how was the just handling all of that? Like, did
For
you
the
guys have
Lake
any-
Ozark side, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
There was some debris and things like that, and we did have some people on the North Shore that were without power for a day and a half or 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it didn't disrupt a lot of like the strip and the businesses and things like that. They were down for a little bit or some flickering, kind of depending on where you were. For the most part, it was a lot easier, I think, for that area than a lot of the other people around us.
I was
Yeah.
really surprised, that not more people got hurt with
Yeah.
all this because there was like
Well,
even
especially
our
on
friend,
the water. I mean, that was not.
well, even like our friend's dock blew away and their kids were in the water and they were trying to put like, and it was just like all those stories are just like close misses, and you're like, shoot, it just
Trees
seems so
falling everywhere.
everywhere.
Power lines.
My windshield did not survive.
Yeah. We had a friend blow away. He went outside.
I do not have that problem.
He got
Maybe one
And
day.
he's not a small guy, which is weird.
he got stitches, but he went outside and got picked up and blown away. And it was very
That's a story.
very Wizard of Oz.
No
So,
kidding.
Yeah.
when Nikki told me that, she's like, Michael Farmer blew away. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Sorry, what?
Yeah.
Did I hear you correctly?
But it was crazy. On nights like that or something where there's a story, do you guys ever get, because you used to be a dispatcher, right?
Yeah.
Because you've been doing this for so long. So
Yeah.
you get the calls when you started, but do people just call you and they're just like, I can't find my cat, or if someone calls you and they're like, hey, my dock flipped upside down, you're like, I don't really know what to do. Or like, do you just get weird
occasionally
calls?
you get some interesting calls like that. Back in my time in dispatch, sometimes people just don't know who to call,
Right.
and so that just makes logical sense to them. At least get the ball rolling. Call somebody who might know who to call. I guess is kind of the logic behind
Right.
that,
Yeah.
and that makes sense. And really, for the most part, I don't think dispatchers mind. Occasionally, you might have some that maybe get a little attitude, like, "Why are you calling me? I'm not the guy," But for the most part, they can point them in the right direction.
We had a buddy in town. Her name was Rosie. She lived in Key West, and she came up, and she's from Brazil, and she was hanging out, and she was kind of weird. We got on the bub boat, and we were hanging out. It was for Aquapalooza, and she was like worried to get in the water, and she said, "My friends told me to watch out for bears in the water." And I just laughed, and I made fun of her all weekend about water bears, and there's no bears in the water. And then, like 6 months later, she sent me a video from, I think it was like Kellysport posted it or
Yep.
somebody, and it was a bear swimming around a dock, and I was like, "Well, I'll be." I was like,
It was actually Riley, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, if there's a bear or something, they'll call you guys, right? Or something.
Yeah,
Or,
they
like,
will.
I mean,
And
what do you
again,
get-
like my guys aren't going to know what to do with a bear.
Yeah.
It's like,
we're not
who do
trained
we
with
call
that
for
yet.
this situation?
I would say
I'd be like,
eventually.
yeah. Yeah.
We're seeing more and more of them, so eventually we'll probably have to get them to some
Right.
some
Some
how-to
bear
training.
training.
Yeah,
Can we go in there?
Yeah.
How to
I mean,
handle
we,
bears.
we do have
Well, how
pepper
about-
spray. We have what we
Yeah.
sometimes refer to as like a party pack. The big cans.
Yeah.
I don't know that they're rated for bears, but if nothing else, try
We'll
that.
find out probably.
Yeah.
There was one down by Elhana not too long ago. It was like
Really?
a little bear. They had to like catch it and go put it
Yeah,
somewhere
I think
else,
they replanted one somewhere
Yeah.
else, right?
Where do you put it? Is it-
Where do you put it?
Transplant.
Just take it to the state park. It'll survive.
Yeah.
if you were sitting there and someone just unloaded a bear into your yard, you'd be like, hey, get this out of here.
I did not ask for this.
Yeah, for sure.
So, how long have you? Give us a little backstory on how
Okay.
you got into the force and everything.
It was interesting. I can tell you, I never planned to be in law enforcement, especially this long.
Yeah.
My wife and I, Heather, we got married young. I think we were both, I think she was 19 and I was 20. And
That is young.
about a year after we got married, we decided to move to Nashville because I was doing music and things like that. Thought that was the way to go and the plan. And that was an interesting time because as soon as we got to Nashville, started working with another guy who was doing a recording, basically like an EP, like a demo kind of
Yeah.
thing. And that was kind of fun because as soon as I'm in Nashville, I'm in a recording studio. I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
This is how it's
Yeah.
supposed
like,
to work.
not
Yeah.
that I've made it anywhere, but this
Yeah.
is really cool.
Right.
And then soon after, we found out we were pregnant, and so we decided to move back. And I needed a job. I was about to have a kid, and I was going to be a dad, and I was a new husband. And my father-in-law had worked in law enforcement for a long time, and he said, "Well, I could probably get you an interview." And so he called up Lake Ozark PD, got me an interview, and they didn't hire me. I was like second pick. And of course, I had like piercings and stuff. I probably did not look like the guy, for a job in dispatch. And about a week later, they called me back and said, "Hey, that guy didn't work out. Would you like to come work for us?" And I said, "Sure." And really, that was kind of like it. I did that for 2 years, and then we had an opening, and I said, "Hey, would you guys consider sponsoring me to the academy?" And we didn't do a lot of that around here back then.
Yeah.
Where they would pay my salary while I went to the academy. They paid for the tuition of the academy. There wasn't much of that happening in our area. And so I was kind of, I guess, what you would call like a pilot program for that at Lake
Yeah.
Ozark for sure. And now, like 21 years later, I'm the chief, so I guess it worked out.
Yeah.
They got their money's worth anyway. And, I've had a job for 21 years, so I think it worked for both of us. But, I was able to do and learn a lot of things along the way.
Yeah.
I started in dispatch, did that for a couple of years, and then I was an officer. I was a patrol supervisor, like a corporal, for several years. And then I was moved to investigations and eventually a sergeant and then a lieutenant and then, the chief. And, there are a certain number of people that just have roots in a place like this and they just want to be here.
Yeah.
It's a great place to raise a family.
For sure.
My job now as a chief, I can't make all the officers be like me. And that's not what I want anyway. I want them to go out and do what they're good at, and each of them are going to have an area of law enforcement that they are passionate about. And I need that because if they're passionate about whether that's DWIs or drugs or training, maybe it's maybe they have a knack for teaching and training. I need them to be doing that so that I get the best out of them.
Yeah.
And so,
good way to be. That's right, Chief.
sometimes
Yeah.
we have to get there, like I may hire a guy tomorrow that I can tell is going to someday be a really good trainer, but he's brand new on the job. So now's not the time. It's going to take us a little bit to get him there and hopefully have him that long.
That's cool.
Definitely.
Well, it's good that you've gone through basically almost every position, and that
Yeah.
that speaks.
And it
to
feels
what
like
you know,
yesterday.
and-
I mean, it
I'm
really
sure,
does feel
yeah.
like yesterday that I was the new guy,
Yeah.
Now you're the big dog.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know about that.
I started working down here in college, and then I loved it, and I got stuck. But it's probably the same time, like 2006, 2007. So like you've seen it blow up, and then during COVID, when we were in real estate, it wasn't until like the middle of that summer where I think everybody that lived down here was like, "What's happening?
Yeah.
Like, is it way busier, or is it
Starting to
busier?
get
Like,
some notability
Yeah.
around here,
Like
and
so-
not always for the right reasons, but
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
it works. So like I felt like there was such an influx of people, everything that like there's not just all of a sudden you can't just be like, well, now we need 10 more officers. Is it just more work for you guys, more hours, just harder, or is it just because that was such a weird thing that happened to all of us. But it's just like when that blew up, did you guys like hire any more people, or is that just a weird time?
Yeah, we did. We were able to hire a couple more, and I think it wasn't overnight that we needed everybody, but it was noticeable.
Yeah,
You know, that we had, we definitely had this summer or two where we're like, there's something happening here that we're not necessarily equipped for just yet.
Yep.
You know, and so there was kind of, I remember a few years ago, the same time frame that you're talking about, where, you know, we might only have 2 officers scheduled on a weekend.
Yeah.
And then we had this influx of people down on the strip. And it wasn't necessarily that everybody was, you know, against the police, but you're outnumbered, you know, hundreds to
for
one.
sure.
And we're still that way, but we kind of have a system and a way to handle kind of that influx. But yeah, I remember some of those conversations of officers calling like in the middle of the night, like, there's just way too many people out here. We can't do this with just 2.
Yeah.
And so, you know, for us now, it's, again, we're still kind of outnumbered. We're still what I would consider short-staffed during that part of the year. And we have to be creative in how we schedule, you know, and that honestly what that looks like is even some of your top staff are going to be out there all weekend, like me, Sergeant Cordula, Sergeant Meyer. We're going to be down there a lot of weekends, if not every weekend, just to help. You know, now obviously as a chief, I'm not necessarily the guy that's going to be taking all the reports.
Yeah.
I mean, I will if I need to, but more than anything, I need to be down there to support in any way I can to make sure they have the tools to get the job done. You know, obviously kind of lead and provide some guidance and direction, things like that. But I want them to know more than anything, like I'm going to be there because if you're going to be down there
not
every
just sending you
weekend,
out there
I'm going to be
gonna
down there
sit
to
at
help
home
us
and
too,
hang out,
you know,
Yeah.
as much as I can.
So what is like a normal, say, like during the week? How many officers are usually like out and about? And
Like
then
usually
versus the
3,
weekends?
probably 3 or sometimes 4, sometimes 2. You know, on a normal day. I
that's
should
just,
say
like,
like an evening
in
shift
your
or
Lake
something.
Ozark
Yep. And again, we're a
department.
small city. You know, we're not. We neighbor right up against Osage Beach, but we also have Miller County and Camden County. You know, we're in both. And we have State Patrol and Water Patrol that are, you know, one and the same, but 2 different functions. So we have, I guess, resources around us that if we need something, they're going to be pretty quick. But on these busy weekends, they're tied up too.
Yeah.
You know, and so a typical shift, you're going to see like on an evening shift, 2 or 3 officers. And then on a weekend, you know, we're going to pull in 6 or 8, or on a holiday, maybe 12, you know, if we can. And most of our efforts are focused right there on the strip.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people down there.
Yeah.
Have you noticed since the TV show started airing, because I feel like I have in the last 2 to 3 years, the traffic on the strip has increased dramatically. And I feel like a lot of the times they just come and hang out in the median with you guys. And
We have a lot of that. I think we're starting, you know, it's kind of trickling in, I think, because we have a lot of people down on the strip that see the cameras. And they come up and they're like, what are these cameras about?
right.
You know, and then you have the other group of people that are like, oh, this is my favorite show. And I just wanted to come down here and meet an officer. And I'm like, you probably saw us at the grocery store.
Yeah.
You know, like some of them are locals that are like, I really wanted to just meet somebody that was on the show. I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, I might have seen you at Starbucks, you know, or at the Red Lantern or wherever, you know.
I live here,
So, and then there's other people that we get, they're like, hey, we've been watching this show now for a couple seasons. And we came from Minnesota. And the only thing we wanted to do when we got down here was meet one of the officers. And it's interesting for us because sometimes they're 60 years old.
Yeah.
You know, and
It's
for
not
me,
like the little kids are like,
yeah,
police officer.
and you get some of those too. But for me, it's interesting because it's just our everyday job. It's,
Right.
You know, and I tell the camera crew all the time, I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I don't want to just start watching people on TV do their everyday jobs. I don't understand why other people want.
It is intriguing because a lot of us, even like myself, I'm like, I mean, I know what you guys do, but I'm like, there's a lot that goes into it. And so it is intriguing for people.
I think it's neat to be able to really kind of show the human side of how the officers are doing it. You know, again, we're not always going to get it perfect. We're not always going to get it right, but there is a human element to it, you know, and decisions like in real time, having to make the right decision. And sometimes that's more difficult than, looking back on it from Monday's point of view.
Yeah.
Right. My cousin lives on the 65-mile marker, and it's funny because she watches the show. So they don't get over to this side of the lake a lot. Her name's Jada, and she's always like, will you please take me to the strip so I can see the cops from Ozark Law? I'm like, sure. So we might
Come on
meet
down,
you
yeah.
tonight.
But, it's funny because what we're doing now is what we've been doing
Right.
Yeah.
since before there were cameras, taking pictures, shaking hands. Somebody will come up and be like, hey, can you put the handcuffs on me so I can send a picture of my mom? And of course, we don't put them all the way on, but we're like, and we've been doing that for years, way before cameras were down. And I remember, I think it was probably my first season as chief, or maybe the summer before that. Because there was a summer where I was only part-time, and then I came back as chief. And I was down there on the strip doing our normal thing, talking to people. That's one of my favorite things, be able to just talk to the visitors and find out where they're from and, a little bit about them and kind of why they come to our area. And people would come up and say, hey, can we take a picture? And a couple of our officers were like, no, we don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I'll take a picture. Yeah. And you could just see them like, oh, we can.
We're allowed
We
to
can do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, well,
Now that's all they're doing. No,
exactly. And it's just neat to
selfies all
see
night.
like the human side.
Right,
We're just guys doing a job.
I think it helps.
Yeah.
Because,
For sure.
Definitely.
For sure.
Well, it helps with, I think, respect, too.
Yeah.
'Cause,
big time.
I
Yeah.
know that that's a huge thing that people get confused about. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we are normal people. We have
Yeah.
families. We have
Yeah.
lives. But we're here to also, do our job.
And I've said it a lot of times in other conversations, but we might run into these people early in the evening and have a laugh or a photo or shake hands or whatever. And then later that night, they may be into something that they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And we've now already have a rapport established, and so we have to come up and kind of be the bad guy now. Like, hey, it's time to stop whatever you're doing. They already know, like, there's a little bit of an element of, hey, that guy's all right because I've already met him tonight, and
Right.
and we're not automatically at odds. And so that kind of helps. And it's just kind of a natural byproduct sometimes.
When we do a bunch of real estate videos or we on camera a lot, and when you start doing it, it's just really awkward. Like our buddy Brant just started doing it, and he's a smooth talker. And his first video, he tilted his head, and was walking. I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I don't know." And then he's doing the hands and stuff, and I'm like,
The Ricky
"It's
Bobby.
weird." He's like, "Why am I doing that?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
It is when you put a
takes some
camera
minute to get used
in
to.
someone's face,
Things change a little
things
bit,
change, yeah.
Did you find yourself over going too hard or what? It was
of course,
it took a minute, bro.
Yeah, it does. But they're used to wearing cameras.
Yeah.
But to have a camera in your face sometimes, and they told us the first season they came, they're like, we're going to get there about a week early, just so that you guys are used to. The first summer they were here, they came on 4th of July, or that was the first weekend they started filming. But they were here about a week earlier with the cameras and the crew. They said because about after a week it's going to wear off, and you're not even going to think about the cameras in your face. And now there's filming for a potential season 3, and it's just we don't even really notice they're there. Sometimes when we'll be talking off to the side, and they'll come over and be like, "Hey, we didn't get that. Could you say that again?" And I'm like, sorry. I mean, it's not going to be authentic, And but that's what they want to. They want the authenticity of whatever the conversations are, And so if you have to set it up, or redo it, that's not.
Well, and I've watched the show, and it is interesting to me because a lot of with anything TV, there is an element of production.
Yeah, you have to.
But for the most
set the
part,
scene
I'm
sometimes.
like, you guys do a really great job, and I know there's things that are happening and in real time that aren't made up, but it's pretty cool.
Well, and go ahead.
I was saying we did a pilot for a couple things at Shady Gators back when we worked there, but there was one for True TV, and it was they were setting everything up, but so we were still in it. So I remember one time they're like, "We need you to fire this girl that's drunk at work." And I was like, you're doing it I've never even been in a play.
Yeah.
I'm not an actor, so I'm like, hey, it almost has to be organic or else it just feels
that's right. And that's a lot of the
You know,
conversation we have with the production company because they are producing TV.
Yeah.
But what they're trying to draw out of us is the real side, they're documenting what we're actually doing. And so sometimes there is an element where they have to pull us off to the side and have us explain what it is we're doing, and maybe the first run through was horrible, so they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it again, But it's still in an effort to document, accurately what we're doing and kind of unfold and unpack what happened throughout the night. And so it is kind of interesting though because those are times where you're standing off to the side with the camera in your face, and you're like, I feel like I'm a total idiot. You know, why am I talking right now?
So like with that, and then
So
just
feels that all the time.
yeah, but with like body cams and stuff too. Like I'm sure, like well, if you're a singer, you're like in the car, you're singing or say something stupid, and you're like, oh, it's on camera. You know what I mean, like it's just like it's always on. I mean, you guys kind of. Well, I guess you have to be used to it now because you got them all.
Yeah, and honestly, there's just kind of a point where you have to shrug it off. Like, if I say something dumb,
it just
whatever, you know, it's gonna be fine.
Laughing.
So like when you're, something's happening and you're filming and you're pulling someone over or on the strip and having to break up a fight or whatever, do people act different when they realize they're on camera?
I think what we see more of is people that notice the cameras are there and they're like, I don't want to be filmed. And unfortunately, like when you're on the strip, I mean, you're in a public area.
Yeah.
There's no expectation of privacy when you're in a public area. Now, if you're in your home or things like that, there's just nothing you can do about it. And so you don't necessarily have to sign the waiver that the production company is going to come and ask you to sign. But you can't, aside from just shielding yourself, there's nothing you can do about cameras. They're everywhere, And so we do have a few people that are like, hey, I don't want to talk to you because I don't want to be on film.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
don't break the law.
Yeah, I was going to say,
break
that's
the law.
Do they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they act out a little more at all?
We
like
see
once
a
they
few-
realize, ooh, okay, yeah, here I
just
am, and I
wanna
got some
send it and
cameras
get on
on
the
me.
show.
Yeah,
more than
yeah.
anything, we see a few down on the strip that they're like, hey, what do I need to do to get on
get
TV?
on.
Don't you do it?
And I'm like, you know what? I got to be honest. It's not up to me. Like, I'm not running the camera, and that's not my production crew. And so, so they joke a lot. Well, like if I fake a fight, can I get on TV? I'm like, nope. There's people that already tried that. It's not going to work.
Please don't.
And then you have a few that decide that that's their moment to dance in front of the camera.
Yeah.
We see a lot of that, and it's like we're 3 years into this now. They're not going to probably do anything in front of that camera that they haven't already seen,
That's funny.
Is it? What do you think like the wildest weekend is for you guys? Or is it Bike Fest the craziest, or is it like 4th of July? Like was it 4th of July or Memorial Day or?
I would say probably, Bike Fest is the longest.
Yeah.
And it's got a lot of potential
And it's an
for danger.
Extra day this week.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
really?
But that's a really great event and great people that show up. There's just so many people, and that's why I say it's got a lot of potential for problems. It's because there's just all the people. However
And the
many,
bikes,
they're all
what I
here.
mean? They're just everywhere.
They're all over the Lake of the Ozarks, and at some point, most of them are going to be on the strip.
Yeah.
And so that's a long one and a tough one. But Memorial Day, the last few years has just seemed to be kind of off the hook. Like interesting challenges all weekend long, fights, all kinds of stuff.
Everyone's just like they're like,
we're out of the house. finally.
Winter's over.
They're not used to partying. They're not used to partying
true,
yet.
yeah.
By Bike Fest, everyone's used to
They're
partying
like,
on the
okay,
strip.
we're
And
cool.
Bike Fest is a totally different crowd.
Yeah, for sure.
Those folks have traveled, I don't know, some of them all across the country
Yeah.
to come down to our event. And, they've got some investment in it. Whereas like your Memorial Day crowd is mostly probably regional, and they're just coming down to kind of let loose for the weekend.
Yeah.
And really those are the ones that for us seem to, I wouldn't say cause the most problems, but do pose a challenge because, we have to maintain order. And it's just not, it can't just be a block party every weekend on the strip.
Right.
And Memorial Day gets pretty rowdy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting. I would have totally thought maybe 4th of July or whatever.
From the
but-
bars, Memorial Day it seemed more amateur hour than any other weekend.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. That's what we
people
kind of
getting
see.
out of the gates for
Yeah.
the first time and stumbling and
And
it's just,
I think the strip has kind of gained its own reputation, unfortunately, that maybe if you're underage, this is a place to be because it's an open public area. It's
And
not.
you can walk around. I
it-
mean, there
yeah,
are,
you can
there's
legally
shops and ice
walk
cream
around, but at
they get-
10:30 or midnight, there's none of those shops are open,
Right.
and there's no reason for anybody underage to be down there because they can't get into the bars, and there's no shopping open for them, and so that poses a serious problem for us because they're there, and they end up.
Slipping
Some
in or
some of them try to
trying-
jump the fence or slip in through the lines. And what we've seen this year is really just an effort of cohesiveness between us and the bars that is probably hasn't been seen yet. And I think it's been noticeable. Last weekend, I think it was Friday night, one of the security officers came up to us, a door person at the bar, and she handed me a stack of IDs. I'm not kidding, that big of fake IDs.
Oh, wow.
From one night at one bar. And that's just one of the places. And
Right.
and what we're seeing this year is that more of the bars are taking a very serious approach to that. It helps us too, because when they're doing their part, we can really, hammer the other ones, that we catch too.
Yeah.
Rather than if either the bars are the only ones trying or we're the only ones trying, we can't catch them all.
Yeah.
Right.
And when both of us are trying, man, we're just catching them left and right. And not all of those people are getting tickets. Sometimes they'll show up to that bar with their fake ID, and then the doorman is like, "Hey, this is fake."
Yeah.
And so, do you want me to call the cops over, or are we good? And
Or
they're
you
like,
gonna
"No, you
just
can
go
keep that.
home?"
I'm
Yeah.
I'm out."
Bye.
And so that's why they end up with a stack.
Good night,
Yeah.
We honestly, we would prefer that they did
Right.
call us over, because we would honestly ticket every single one of them, because we're trying to send the
This
message.
is a serious, issue.
Exactly.
I mean, you're
And-
not only like, it's up. These bars can
Yeah.
get in some serious
Exactly.
trouble, and I
It's
mean,
their
that's good on them.
livelihood,
Yeah.
and not just the
Right.
bar owners, but also the servers and the people that work there. I mean, their
I mean,
money
we want
and
everyone to
income
have
depend
fun,
on that.
but
Yeah.
just make sure you have age.
Yeah.
And a lot of
Follow
our
the
fights,
law.
a lot of our fights come from the underage people.
Because they're not used to hanging out.
Exactly, and they're not supposed to be there anyway.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, and just from managing bars and stuff, and you're talking about privacy, but nowadays it's like if you're underage in a bar, you're gonna be like in the background of 100 pictures. Like
Yeah.
everyone's just walking around taking pictures all
Yeah.
day. So like if
Yeah.
you're in there and you're underage, you're gonna be like, oh, I wasn't there, and you'd be like, well, you're,
Yeah.
it's just
I had a
crazy,
guy
yeah.
come up to me 2 weekends ago. We're standing in the middle of the road, just kind of watching the crowds, and he walks up. And sometimes if a doorman or a bartender can't verify an ID, they'll just call us over and say, "Hey, if you have time, could you check this?" I don't know. I can't tell if this one's fake or real. And so this guy walks up to me with this ID, and he goes, "Hey, the bar over there said I needed to have you guys check this." And so the officer ran it, and it came back with nothing, which doesn't automatically mean it's fake, but it's a pretty good clue. And it was an out-of-state ID, and he hands me the ID, and I look at it, and I kind of do my thing. I could tell right off the bat that it was fake.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why did you walk over here? He said, well, they told me I had to come over here and get this verified. I said, no, maybe not understanding. Why did you come to the cops in the middle of the road with a fake ID? And he just kind of stood there like stumbling over. I'm like, dude, what is your deal?
This says
Idiot.
You know it's fake.
McLovin on it?
And I know it exactly. And I know it's fake. And you still walked up to the cops.
Yeah.
like, you could have
That's
just
crazy.
left.
What did
I
you
mean,
think was going to happen?
Oh.
He just
That's
turned himself
hilarious.
in.
Yeah.
I think it's Arizona IDs. I remember they like don't expire for like 30 years, and I remember seeing that one on there, and I was like, "This is fake," and I took it, and they were like, "No, it's not. I need my ID back," and I'm like, "Whatever, buddy." And
Yeah.
then like, they came back, and I was like, "Oh, sorry about that." Yeah.
Some of the states, like Iowa, for instance, we found out that you can, Iowa, they get an ID or a driver's license with restrictions, I think, at like 14.
Yeah.
So a picture at 14 may still be on file when you're 18 or 19.
That's crazy.
And so this guy shows up the other day with a picture, and the bar won't let him in because he looks 14 on the photo. It doesn't even look like the same people.
That's hilarious.
Anyway, and maybe it wasn't. Either way, we ended up with this guy, and we're trying to figure out if this is a real ID or a fake one, because the picture looks so young.
Yeah.
It looks clearly like it's not him. And then we figured out that, actually, that picture may be on file there for years.
Interesting.
Is it weird down there, just anywhere for me? Because I'm not a big weed guy, but now that marijuana's legal and you're seeing it more and more everywhere, like, is there like restrictions on what
Yes.
you can, like, what is it? 'Cause
There are, and that's one thing that we've also been trying. Listen, we're not trying to be fun haters.
Yeah.
But there is nowhere in the state of Missouri that you can smoke weed in a public area.
Okay.
Like, you can smoke it at your house. You can smoke it on private property if you're allowed, but you cannot anywhere in the state smoke it in a public area.
Okay.
Now, there are areas where they don't do anything about it. Like maybe some of your cities or something like that. There's just so much of it going on that they've opted to just not do anything.
turn
And,
blind,
and I
yeah.
can't speak for them, but for us, what we're trying to mitigate is the fact that people come down to the Strip, they smoke marijuana, they bring their own alcohol, and they just party to loud music out on the street, never going into the bars.
Yeah.
So that
Right.
doesing do the bars any good.
Right.
It certainly doesn't do us any good,
Yeah.
because now we have people just lingering out in
Yeah.
the sidewalks and the streets, and for the only purpose of it's a block party atmosphere. And so that's one thing we've taken a really strong approach on this year. Started kind of last year also, but really this year, and with the backing of our board of aldermen of the city, We're trying to, we don't want to kill the fun. We want to keep a good vibe, but at the same time, we have to maintain like some order. And if it's just, loud music and weed and alcohol out there on the street all weekend long, it's only going to turn into problems, And so, again, with the cooperation of the bars and just us trying to work together as much as we can, we have adopted a new city ordinance that deals with smoking marijuana in public. Now, there's already a state law on the books, but having a city ordinance makes it simpler for our officers to handle it. We can scratch out a city ticket.
Yeah.
And usually just walking up to them and telling them, hey, you can't
Chill
do that
out,
here. And someone will be like, oh, wait, you can't?
Yeah.
And I'll tell them, like, nowhere in the public area can you do that. Maybe where you're from, they let you, but, just don't. And we posted signs, no open containers of alcohol, no smoking marijuana in public, and a few other things, no glass containers on the strip, because that's one thing that can turn dangerous fast. Also, just the enormous amounts of trash from that many people down there. A few things that we're just trying to get a handle on. We're looking at the possibility of changing like our amplified noise ordinance. So it's just, again, so that somebody's not just down there cranking up their music, having their own side party. Go inside one of these establishments. They've spent tons of money preparing these places for people like you to go.
There.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on.
And that's kind of what we're hoping to encourage.
Oh, that's good.
And then we had George on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about the new place down there at the end of the strip, and I think that's going to drive a lot more day traffic down there.
I think so. We're really excited about that.
Cool.
I mean, it is kind of nice. I mean, the strip, back in the day was a really big place to be and go, and you saw all the pictures of everyone hanging out down there and driving, up and down, and then it kind of died off, and it really didn't happen, and now it's kind of back.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is nice to see, just because it's like our little downtown area, but it does. And there's a lot going on.
Well, George is up too during the day with like the Malted Monkey, and then even that Ozark Live types, like where there's like stuff for families to do too.
Right.
So
it's not just.
He's doing a great job of really just bringing like a nicer upscale element to what he's doing, and he's not the only one. But the projects that he involves himself in, he does them right.
Changed
and he spends the effort and the money to try to mitigate the problems. He works with us very well. I mean, he's very good to us. Matter of fact, he just donated a truck to us that we're going to be using. It's like a box truck that they had been using as their job office for that project that you're talking about down at the end of the strip. And I guess at some point over the winter, there was a fire in the back of the truck, and so they had to gut it and start rebuilding it. And then he got him a new job office, and so that was sitting on the back lot. And I drove by it on Memorial Day weekend. And I'm like, what is this? This could really be useful for us down on the strip when we're writing tickets and things like that. So I called him up and I said, hey, what's going on with this truck? And he said, well, go look at it and tell me if you think it could be useful. And then he turned around and donated it to us.
Wow.
And
that's
so,
awesome.
I mean, he again, just the cooperation with people like him. We're all trying to achieve the same thing down there. Of course, he's a businessman and there's others, their bottom dollar and their bottom line is different than ours, but when we work together, everybody wins down there. And that's really what we're hoping to accomplish.
How much part of the event planning, like if they're doing a big event, or is it like, that group, deciding what happens and then you deal with it? Are you guys like heavily involved with like how they plan the event out or like the dates, or how does that work?
Each event down there is done by a different event organizer, mostly. And so from your boat race to your bike fest to your car show, they're all different organizers. But we try to maintain some of the same guidelines, kind of. And then some of them want open container restrictions lifted, and some of them don't want that for their event. And so each of them are a little bit different. But, we're heavily involved in, like, what we'll allow and what we'll kind of let them, what we require that they handle. One thing that we've changed over the years recently is 5 or 4 years ago probably, the PD did all the traffic directing at both ends. When we close off the strip and we open that detour, the PD was the only ones that did traffic control. It was a huge strain on our manpower because you had to have somebody there all day long for, it was probably a 12 or 15 hour event. And so somebody, probably 2 people at each end. And you can't just put 1 or 2 officers there for the whole day. So you got to rotate them. It was a major strain on our manpower. And so one thing that we've shifted into is the event organizers now have to bring their own traffic control. And it's got to be good. I mean, it can't just be, you know, I don't know, your cousin that says he'll show up. Maybe if your cousin's good at it, you know, but if they're
just
not
be like
cutting it, yeah.
An old lady sleeping in a lawn chair.
If they're not cutting it, we're
got
going to have to
this.
swap them out, you know, bring somebody else in here because we got to get this traffic moving. But they've done a really, and some event organizers are better than others at finding those volunteers, but they all try really hard, and eventually, you know, we'll get it handled. And obviously we'll send an officer up there if it gets really congested or if there's a problem. But that's one thing we've adjusted a little bit over the years, and we've just kind of asked them, like, if you want to have your event, here's the things that you have to have lined up.
Yeah.
And it's been working.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing a
Seems like
killer
it.
job down
Yeah.
there. Yeah, because like
Really
with the
is.
Gets On Guide, like you look like almost every other weekend with the car shows, shoot up, or like it's like
always
something
something.
going down there all the time.
Always
so
something.
Yeah.
it's sweet, and it's like you know, when we lived in Key West, you have a Duval Street where you can bounce around all the bars. That's why I think everybody likes it so much.
Yeah.
'Cause, you know, like if you're driving someplace, you drive out to like, you know, some bar on the outskirts and you don't like the band, you're like, well, I'm going to stay here.
You got a 30-minute drive,
Yeah.
yep.
And then it's like an hour-long drive,
Yeah.
whereas, they can.
It
soon as
literally
you get
is like
bored.
Main Street.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now it's like even like Roxy's and stuff, you see those lines at those bars or at Alley Cats,
Yeah.
and those weren't there before. Now
Oh,
it's like,
Roxy's
this
is killing
great.
it. Luke
I know. Luke's
Yeah.
and
doing a
those
great
guys
job.
over there, they are doing a fabulous job.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about that is, you know, they're trying hard to do it right. Luke's at the gate every single night checking
Yeah.
IDs, wearing a security shirt. You know, and he's the owner of that establishment.
Yeah.
And I love to see that when you have such a hands-on approach. You know, he's got a lot invested in that. And you know, again, like you said earlier, if somebody goes in his bar and messes up, that could cost him a
It's
lot
his
of money,
livelihood,
or
yeah.
any of those bar owners down there. And so, again, just another example of us working very closely with these bar owners, and whether or not they're down there all night. It doesn't. There's a few of them that are like that. Well, they'll be working late at their bars, and it just having that, you know, first name basis cooperation with them, man, it goes a long ways for them and us.
Yeah.
We are like, so obviously there's like, you know, camera crews and stuff with the show. Did those people live here for like, do they rent a place here? Are they just down for like a couple weeks, or like where?
So they're here.
Out here.
Yeah, no, they do hire one or two semi-locals or
Okay.
locals or almost locals, but the majority of their crew, they fly in from all over the United States, and they house them all summer long. And so they come probably a week before Memorial Day, and they'll stay till right after Bike Fest.
It's a cool gig.
And they house them, you know, and they rent apartments or condos for them, and just make sure they have to have vehicles and things like that. And so it's a major investment for that production company to try to make sure that everything's going smooth. And they have people on the ground just here to manage the crew and make sure, you know, expenses are paid, and you know, equipment that they need is here, and it's a big deal. And
How many days do you guys film for the show? Or
they're
what's that schedule
usually,
look like?
I think if I remember right, they work Wednesday through Sunday. They have Monday and Tuesday off.
Okay.
Now, if they need to change that, you know, for an event that's going
Yeah.
on, it seems like they're willing to do that. But they've kind of found a rhythm that they think works, you know, and they come in mostly in like the afternoon, and they'll stay until, you know, after the bar close, in an effort to try to get a little bit of everything going on, you know. And that's one of the things this year that was discussed is, you know, is there a way to maybe showcase some more of what's happening at the lake, other than just like bars and the strip and things like that? And I think that's one thing they wanted to try to do also. You just have to be able to do it in a creative way,
Yeah.
you know, because there's a couple of ways to look at it. You know, they're a production company. Their job is to make TV that people want to watch.
Right.
Obviously, when you have some drunk guy that's saying silly and funny things or running from the cops, that's going to be fun to watch, you know. But they also want to try to do it in a way. It seems like what they've communicated is they want to try to do it in the way that the locals want them back. And if the locals don't want them back, they don't get a season 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever it may be. So they may have great viewing, you know, ratings from viewers all over the country, but if the locals don't want them here, then there's no more.
I thought
you
they
know.
did a great job with that. I said I thought they've done a great job with that, making it like look the lake look good and making you guys look good without making all of us look stupid
yeah.
together.
Right.
Which, you know, it
Right.
could happen. So
I was wondering about like, you know, because we're such a boating water community,
Yeah.
and curious, like, would they ever shift to? Because I don't see a whole lot of water patrol.
I think they would love to
You know what I
if they
mean?
had the chance.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I don't know,
Because
maybe
I think that would be really
yeah.
interesting.
Probably
I mean, there's a lot
more
that
like hoops they have to jump through for that, since it's like through the state.
Yeah,
Except-
but
yeah.
I think that would. I mean, that's a pretty big part of our area.
I think
so
that'd be a
it'd
really neat
interesting.
element to show, you know,
Be a
because
wild thing to film on a camp.
well, and if you think
Yeah,
about it, there is
still.
very, I mean, how many other lakes do you know of that deal with what we deal with, you know, on a good and bad level?
right.
And so to have that element on the show, I think that'd be huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It would be really neat to see if they could pull it off someday.
hopefully they would. Yeah,
Let's do it.
Grant that-
Start a petition, maybe. I don't know.
Where do I sign?
Hannah's out there.
It's like,
Oh,
I'll
good
do it right
stuff.
along.
Well,
we always say like on real estate now, it's like it used to be like Memorial Day to Labor Day would be,
Yeah.
you know, and now I feel like it's almost like St. Patrick's Day to Halloween. Like you see like that, and it's just a lot busier, a lot longer now.
It
So-
is. And like you said, St. Patrick's Day is almost, it's like the unofficial kickoff these
yeah,
days.
I
yeah.
agree.
You know?
That's what we always.
Now
tell
we all
everyone.
know Memorial Day is the real start,
Yeah.
but St. Patrick's Day, and even I would even say pub crawl. You know, it's not quite what it used to be,
Right.
but it's still like you've been through a long, hard winter, and now
Ready to
there's
get
a little
out.
bit of light at the end of the tunnel. You know, the weather's starting to change, and so St. Patrick's Day just kind of like cranks everything up, and really by Memorial
She gets
Day,
fired up. She loves parades.
parades are your thing, huh? Wow,
It's
we
our
have some
thing.
interesting parades here.
Oh,
We
I'm
do.
sure. Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lots.
So excited last year. I threw up 3 times.
Wow, you're
Not on the street though.
very excited
Yeah.
about parades.
Just at
With
my
bucket,
feet.
Yeah. DJ in the boat.
But yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying is accurate. We're starting to see, you know, less, you know, strictly tourism season, and a little more kind of overspill on both ends of that. Starting to get a little more year round. You know, we're not quite there yet, but we're getting there.
Yeah. Well, as the lake just keeps evolving, I mean, with certain things.
Not to mention Chick-fil-A's coming.
I
I mean, what does that tell you?
now tells me
so
everything.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. No, but I mean, every place kind of sucks in, you know, December, January, and people are doing family stuff with Christmas. So
Yeah.
when people are like, you know, the lake's kind of slow in January. I'm like, what is it? Like, go to
Right.
anywhere
Yeah.
else. So
Besides,
Everybody's a little bit, you know, more low key.
But we kind of like it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's a little nice for us that, or, you know,
Yeah.
anyone that's here locally.
It is a nice little kind of breath
Break.
of fresh
Yeah.
air and a reprieve, if you will.
if it was like right now, all year round, I'd be in trouble. So
Yeah.
I
You'd
need-
be
I need,
locked
like,
up.
We would
yeah.
have to lock him up.
this would
Yeah.
probably be real if it was real.
Big buckshot. Is there any like laws down here that would help you guys out, or is there any stuff that like you guys could change that would be like, oh man, if this passes, this would make our lives easier, or anything like that?
Yeah, there's a few things that we're looking into to just kind of what I've been saying all summer is we're looking at like incremental changes we can make, mostly to kind of tame what we're seeing down on the strip. You know, you mentioned years ago the strip was a big deal. You know, the only reason we have a city of Lake Ozark and a police department is because of what problems the strip wrought. If you read some of the history books, back in 1966 was the year they incorporated the city of Lake Ozark and made a police department. It's because of the problems they were having on the
Yeah.
strip, and they had a need for law enforcement down there, and so they opted to make a police department and you know, a city and all that, and that's a wide overview of all that process. But it's interesting how history kind of comes back around because
Yeah.
the problems they had then, which is the reason we have a police department, are the same problems we're having now in the same part of town, you know. And I don't know even calling it a problem is fair. It's just a challenge, you know.
Right.
That is a really historic and neat place down there on the strip. And there's, you know, we go down there and we see people every weekend having a great time, and most of them are doing it safely and doing it properly and having fun. There, you know, a few times, you know, a weekend we might have a fight or something like that, and every couple of years we might have something
Serious. Yes.
serious, you know. But for the most part, this is a really neat and unique place.
It is.
And for us, there are a few things that we're just trying to incrementally change to just make sure it remains a safe
Right.
and unique place that people can come and enjoy their time. And one thing we're going to try to present to the Board of Aldermen soon is, you know, maybe a proposal for, like I said, we're going to adjust the noise ordinance a little bit. We don't want the bars to have to like stop what they're doing. We just want to make sure it's at a level that's not obnoxious, you know, in the middle of the road. Whatever they do inside their bar, I don't mind at all. You know, I'm not going to try to change that. The other thing we're noticing, we talked about like the juveniles that are just hordes of them on the strip. And you can, of course, I'm getting older, you know, I'm getting ready to turn 43. But they look younger and younger. And I
Yeah,
look around, I'm
yeah.
like, why is that person down here at midnight? You know, they look 16. And some of them are, you know, we'll check some IDs depending on what's going on. And so one of the things that we'd like to try to ask the aldermen to pass is a juvenile curfew. And so we're looking at it now to see what that might look like. They do it in other places. I was just at Seaside a couple months ago, and they have signboards up with juvenile curfew laws posted, and they have cops posted every 300 yards with their lights on, just as a deterrent.
But it's like, it's not to be a fun hater for
Yeah.
juveniles. It's more like, we're keeping you safe.
Exactly.
Because honestly, I mean, when people are drinking and all the things are happening, listen, I wouldn't want my 16-year-old down
For
there,
sure.
like, with all of that.
No.
You know?
One of the first weekends of the summer, there was a group of teenagers, young, walking up the strip, and a fight broke out in the same little spot. And a 16-year-old girl got hit in the side of the face. Wasn't even involved,
Right.
but honestly had no business being down there.
Right.
It wasn't her fault, other than that she was,
Wrong
walking
place,
in
wrong
that
time.
area.
Yeah.
But that's smart to kind of do
Yeah.
and present. Because
Exactly. And to your point, it's an effort to try to protect them, but it also removes an element of our problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even if it was only 15 or 20% of our problem, that's less of an issue that we have to deal with when we're trying to just maintain some sense of order and peace down there and safety.
Right.
Is it illegal to be wet in
Oh.
clothes?
No,
We had a. It's not, is it?
no,
We had a.
not that I've ever read about anyway.
We had a discussion about how wet you can be in a because it was pretty wet on Sunday. I just was soaked in some stuff. But if someone walks into this is really stupid. But if someone walks into like a bar and they're like dripping wet, I mean that just kind of is what it is, right?
I mean, yeah, it's not illegal.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
I mean they don't have to let you
Right.
remain.
no, yeah.
Yeah,
But
at
it's
that
up-
point,
it's
it
up
could
to the-
it could
the-
become
the
illegal if they say
establishment.
leave and you don't.
leave.
You know,
Hey, guy, you're really wet. Get out of
we
here.
have a lot of that. People get really a bar or someplace will come and ask us to remove somebody,
Yeah.
and then they're mad at us.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, guy, we didn't ask for you to be removed. They asked us to get you out of their bar, and it's
Well,
their
and you did
it's their
something.
decision.
I love when people
Yeah.
like watching the shows
"Oh, I
and
didn't
everything,
do
and they have they're like, I didn't do anything. Like what, they have no clue what,
Yeah.
how, or why. And I'm like, well, I mean, they're not. Just
You will
coming up to
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like watch the
Come
video.
on.
Run
You'll
the
see.
You
tapes.
did something.
Yeah.
Usually when you wake up, you're like, it might have been a little out of hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get a lot of that. When we see repeats, like we might deal with them on Friday, and then Saturday they come back, and some of them apologize. They'll come up to us and be like, hey, I was really sorry. I'm really sorry how I acted last night. I was
You
out of
said some
line.
crazy
That's
nice.
stuff,
Thank
man.
you.
Yeah.
Have you ever run into something where like you've arrested somebody for doing something stupid, and then like Saturday you see him again, and then Sunday you got to be like, dude, you're killing me. Or like, is this
Well-
somebody that you keep running into?
Yeah, you do. And you get to some of these people you get on like a first name basis, not because you're trying to like hang out. But yeah, exactly. But because it's like, what are you doing down here again tonight? Or the funnier part is like you see them around town. Of course,
Yeah.
we all live here. We all shop at the same stores.
Yeah.
Or like, I might work, Friday and Saturday I'm out there till like 2 or 3 in the morning, depending on what it is. But I got to be to church, and I've got responsibilities there on Sunday morning at 7 a.m. And because I'm on staff there. And so sometimes you see people like, whether it's at the grocery store or maybe at church, you're like,
I know
I know.
what you did last
I know what you've been up to. I'm not saying I'm judging. I'm just
Right.
saying, like, make sure you're keeping yourself in line next
That's
time. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. That would be hilarious.
My uncle is he works in the police force in Denver, and his favorite snack to keep in his car are watermelon Sour Patch Kids. Do you have a snack in your car that you like to keep?
Coffee,
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I drink coffee all day, every day. Hot or cold, it doesn't matter.
What's your
all
order?
year. Say what?
What's your order?
This is honey and Himalayan salt.
Oh, that one's good.
Oh.
And I'm very specific because, of course, my daughter runs a coffee shop. And so oftentimes I'll go there and I'll just make my own. And when they're busy, she hates it because she's like, Dad, you got to leave.
Yeah.
You're getting
Like
kicked out.
we're busy here. We're doing work.
She's throwing you out.
But I know exactly like how I want to make it now because her and I and her husband Aiden, we like built the place. And so we were all kind of learning at the same time how this, coffee stuff was happening. And so now I'm like one of those coffee snobs, and I'll go to a coffee shop and I'm like, hey, can I get 26 grams of honey and a healthy amount of Himalayan salt? And most of them look at me like I'm crazy.
Right.
I'm like,
you're
can,
"Do you just
any
want me to
chance
do it?
I
Do
could
you
just
want
come
me to
back
do it?"
there and whip that up real quick?
Where is Red Lantern? Because you guys talk about it all the time. I don't think
It's-
I've been there yet.
It's down on the strip.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
It's in the
In the
building
Peace
of the
Box.
Frog.
I need
You
to
go
go
in, hook a left.
Yeah.
Aubrey and Aiden, they opened almost a year ago,
Yeah.
and they're just killing it. Honestly, to the point of like, Fridays and Saturdays, there's going to be a line out the door.
Yeah.
It's good.
And
I
it's-
mean, there's not really a.
Yeah.
I mean, there's restaurants and stuff that
Restaurants
serve
stuff.
it, but not a coffee shop. So
Yeah, and there we have several good coffee shops in the area,
Right.
but there's none on the strip. And I think honestly, even if there was more, they would all do well.
Right.
And not that I want there to be more, but
get ya.
they're doing so good, and they're only serving coffee, and they're it's like a place you go on vacation and you look up the best coffee places, and then you wait 20 or 30 minutes to get in the door.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening, and I'm proud of them because they're working their butts off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also great coffee, not just because it's my daughter, but
it
it's
truly
just
is.
great coffee,
Yeah, it
and
is.
they get it out of a roastery in Springfield. And yeah, it's great people to work with
Yeah.
down there, and again, it kind of like I have to go somewhere and like mix and match my drink just to make sure I get something similar. If they don't let me
Yeah.
make it
So-
myself, and they don't,
It's also nice that you can get it in a can because then you can
Yes.
take a couple for the next few
Put-
days.
put it in
and
a
then pour it
cooler.
on
We did that the other
ice.
day. We were going out on the boat, and we had Aubrey can us up some coffees, and we threw them in the cooler. It was
Can
perfect.
up the
ice?
coffees?
Yeah, it's a
I
game.
didn't even know you could do that.
Well, it's like an iced
It's a
coffee. You don't put the
machine.
ice in it, and you just it comes in like a little plastic, and it has a can
Can.
topper.
That's sweet.
So then, really, you just
I need to get over
keep
there.
it cold, and then
Yeah, it's worth your time.
It's
I'd be worried if I had
amazing.
a police car and I was doing that, and my car would be there'd be too many
Trash.
snacks in
Coffee.
there.
Coffee
It'd be
cups
dirty.
everywhere,
Yeah.
cans, yeah.
Sunflower seeds would be an
Yeah.
issue.
I used to do a lot. You were asking about
Yeah.
snacks. I used to do a lot of sunflower seeds.
Sunflower seeds.
My favorite is the Taco Bell
Yeah.
sunflower seeds.
Mm.
It's the
I've
best.
never had.
Swift and
that.
I eat those a lot when we golf.
Yeah.
That's the
All
way.
golf carts usually pretty trash.
Corn
but I
nuts.
bet too.
I love corn nuts.
Those are good
Okay.
too.
My
Nice
wife Heather
crunch.
hates corn
Crunchy.
nuts.
Yeah.
She hates the smell of them.
Yeah.
We're on a road trip. That's what gets me by. If I'm starting to get sleepy or something,
Yeah.
crunching on some corn nuts. Everybody in the car hates it.
Corn nuts
I'd
and
be worried
coffee.
about like arresting someone and then them being in handcuffs and being like, "Can I get some of those corn nuts?" He's like, "Get your own corn nuts, man."
Exactly.
Get your own.
Maybe later.
Yeah, when you're out of jail.
You're in trouble right now. You can't have it.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're in timeout.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's season 2 now, but you said they're talking about a season 3. Or
So
like,
they're filming
yeah.
for season 3.
Okay.
But it's production, and so
Takes
you're working
forever.
with a production company and a network.
Yeah.
And so at any time, I guess if the network decided they didn't want it, they could just not air it. But yeah, they're filming for season 3, so I would assume it'll air, but I guess you never really know.
Yeah.
Have you seen so with the show and filming on the show, and then just like your normal, day to day your job that you're doing because you're not filming all the time? Has there been something that was caught on film that's the craziest, or do you have like one of the craziest stories of just something really crazy,
Like
and funny?
while filming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or not, or has the craziest happened while not filming? Probably that.
There's probably like something like somebody will say something when they're getting arrested, and you're like, "That's gonna make the show," or just
Yeah,
something
like,
really
yeah.
silly or something. where
Well, it
you're
is.
like, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't call
It's
it
like
crazy,
content, yeah.
but it is kind of funny what they pick up in the post production side, or post filming side, I should say. They'll pick up like little one liners that we've said, and then that'll become like on the trailer or something.
Yeah.
I think season 1, I guess, is when they had me saying it's go time.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember like when I said that, but I would like go through Starbucks and they would write it's go time on the cup. And it was kind of funny, because again, like
People wear
it was on the
t-shirts.
30-second, trailer of the
That's the
show.
hook.
Yeah, it was a
it's
little
go
hook.
time.
And then this year season 2 they were using when Sergeant Cordula said "Love you, bye," which is something we've said at our department for years. I mean, for years and years. And then it just kind of has hung around. And there is a neat little story to it, but it started 20 years ago. And then one of the guys that was working security, his mom and dad owned a campground. His name was Casey Shoemate. And his brother is still in law enforcement in this area. His name is Nick Shoemate. And Casey and Nick were doing some security for his mom and dad's campground. And so they would hang around us a little bit because we were always down there, answering calls or hanging out. And Casey developed an interest for law enforcement. And so he would ride along with us a lot. And then he went to the academy, and then he got picked up by a neighboring agency. I think he started at Eldon and then went to work for Miller County. But because we always said "love you, bye," he started saying "love you, bye." And then when he went to work for those two agencies, he just kind of took it wherever he went.
Yeah.
And then all the agencies, in our close area would say "love you, bye," at least to each other. And it kind of just spread. So it became quickly a thing that Casey was known about. And then he died on duty one day. And so even at his funeral, we had Love You Bye. And so it really quickly became a thing that we kind of attributed to him because, he may not have started it, but he really spread it.
Yeah.
And so now, like, Cordula had never worked here with Casey, but all these years later, it's still hanging
developed,
around,
yeah.
and
That's
it's,
cool.
so it's a normal, it's a staple
Well,
in
now
our
I know
department.
if I ever get in trouble, I'm just like, okay, love you, bye.
Love you, bye. Yep.
Do you guys ever do it on the radios or?
No,
Love You Bye.
I am kind of a stickler, like professionalism on the radio.
Yeah, that's fair.
And again, I don't want to be a fun hater, but man, there's a line. Just
Yeah.
keep it professional.
Yeah.
You get some of those officers that they just
It'd be me.
keep talking
Yeah,
and
you would-
keep
he would
talking. It's
never.
like
He would just be on me like,
You know,
can I get more?
exactly key up, say what you got to say, and then
Yeah.
put the
going.
radio down, buddy.
Speaking
Anybody
of
need more
ride-alongs, do you guys ever do is it people that have an interest in law enforcement, or have you given just ride-alongs with anyone that's kind of?
It kind of
wondered
depends.
or asked?
I would say we're fairly selective.
Yeah.
We don't have a strict policy. I think there are some agencies where like almost anybody can ride.
Mm-hmm.
They probably have to go through a background check and things like that. But then they only get so many rides ever.
Yeah.
And then after you've exceeded that many, you don't get a ride anymore. You can go to the academy if you want, but
Yeah,
you don't get a ride
that's
anymore.
enough.
For us, it is kind of focused on: do you have an interest in law enforcement, or maybe you're working on a project or something, or I think one of the restrictions we have right now with ride-alongs is we do have a film crew with most of our officers that are on duty, or at least some of them. And so, for instance, if you're an officer and you have the film crew with you and you arrest somebody, well, the film crew probably is going to have to get out. And so they're going to have to get in with somebody else.
That makes sense.
So therefore, if we only have 2 or 3 officers on a night, we don't have room
Got the
for
space,
a ride along. Occasionally, we still can work it out. Especially if we have somebody interested in law enforcement, we really want them to kind of get in and see what they might get into. Before they take the plunge.
Speaking of rides, I think that the lake's done better about because of Ubers and Lyfts transportation. Because for even 2 years ago or 3 years ago, you'd be leaving a bar and trying to go home,
You
and you
couldn't.
couldn't.
Yeah.
There was no cabs.
Stuck.
You'd hit there, and the Uber just spin and nothing. And now I feel like even you can pre-schedule rides, or even I left Gator right at bar close when after that Sasquatch show, there was Uber just. I'm like, no way, this is awesome. So,
Yeah.
but I feel like that's
It's gotten a lot better.
yeah.
It has
Which
gotten
is
better,
nice.
and I think there is a lot of room for improvement. That is a lot of the problems we have after bar closes.
It's got to be.
Is that you have hundreds of people that would love to leave,
Yeah.
and they just don't have a ride out of there, or we have a need for so many more Ubers, taxis, Lyfts, whatever it is, and they might get 4 minutes away and then they get canceled. And so that is a point of frustration for a lot of people down there because, they've been down there drinking all night. They're ready to go home. They can't get back into the bars. And now
And
they
then that's
can't
when
get
problems,
and,
probably happen
and that's
for you
when all the
guys,
problems
Little
happen.
Frankie.
Yeah.
What I've noticed though, the last couple of weekends, it seems like it's a big improvement.
I feel that. Too, yeah.
The other day, usually what happens at bar close, 10 or 15 minutes before, they'll start closing the bars down, so all the people come outside, and there's limited space for them to stand. So you got this big crowd. They're waiting on their rides. They're ready to go home. Somebody in their party is starting to act up, and so they're trying their best to keep the lid on it.
Yeah.
They just can't get a ride, and so they might be down there till 2 or 2:30 in the morning waiting. The last couple of weeks, I've been looking around. I was like, wow, it's 1:45, and people
Cleared out.
are starting to clear it relatively quickly. I hope that continues for the rest of the summer because that's huge for us to just try to ensure everybody gets out of there safely. There's no big fights, and if there is something, it's a lot easier to handle if it's not
Right.
full of
7,000 people
Yeah.
down there.
I think so. Everyone just if you're renting a place way up on the North Shore or somewhere, and then you go to the Strip, and you're like, I'll just get an Uber at 1:30. It's
Not gonna happen.
No, you're not.
Good luck.
planning
Yeah.
ahead. So,
Yeah.
but no, I think it's getting a lot better.
I think so
it's-
too.
It's nice.
Gotta get home safe.
For sure.
Love that. Don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
For sure. Good shout out. It's good advice for anybody, anywhere.
Yeah. Words of wisdom.
Well, I mean, duh.
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 It's expensive. It's dangerous.
And yeah, no, that's my biggest pet peeve actually.
What's the craziest way someone's tried to get out of a ticket
Oh yeah,
or in trouble?
your favorite excuse when someone pulls you,
Yeah.
you pull someone over.
I mean,
and
I'm
you're
sure you've had the.
well, my dog's dying at the vet and I have to go right now. It's like, no.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Yeah, you do have some of those people that are like, I really am trying to go to the bathroom. But the problem is I don't want to give any secrets away, but how do you verify?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the reason.
You're like a like a little kid. You're
Yeah.
checking their
Prove,
behavior.
yeah.
Like,
I don't want to be the reason you don't get, there safely.
Yeah.
That could be a bad
I
day
didn't think about that.
for
That's gonna be
several
the
people,
go-to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like Brenda.
Right? Everybody's
Write
like
that
put a
down.
note
Can
in their
sometimes
phone.
be a
No,
problem, you
I found
know?
out I can be as whatever I want to be. So just
I feel like, there is a certain type that just kind of naturally go towards law enforcement. And some of those people probably don't care.
Yeah.
They don't really care if you got to go to the bathroom or not.
yeah.
You should have handled that before you got
Yeah.
in the car.
That's an
And
ish
so-
you, not an ish me.
Yep.
Before you stole that hat or whatever.
Yeah.
That's
No, I don't know. I can't think of, honestly, I don't have much to go on there. I
Yeah.
can't think of any crazy excuses. You
sure
have
hear everything,
you have a
though.
lot of officers that are like, oh, as soon as they cry, I'm writing them a ticket. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't really go that way because sometimes it is just nerve wracking to be
It is,
pulled
yeah.
over. I've been pulled
Yeah.
over plenty of
Yeah.
times, and I don't like it any more than the next person because usually, even if I don't like it, I realize I've done something I shouldn't
you're
have.
in trouble. You,
Yeah.
you like almost revert back to
You
being
know?
a kid, and you're
Yeah.
like, I'm in trouble. Oh no.
And so some people's reaction, even sometimes my wife, we've been doing this now for over 20 years, and she doesn't like getting pulled over. She might start crying.
Yeah.
Has she ever seen something on the show and like watched it and been like, you were kind of mean to that guy? Or has she ever like criticize you from the show or say anything?
Not really.
gotcha.
Occasionally, she'll make fun of me or something.
Yeah.
If I look goofy, but it's all been pretty fun, and also we have a chance to we have to view all the episodes before they're aired just for accuracy and things like that. We don't have we can't necessarily tell them what to edit. But we can certainly lean into some of our concerns, or if there's something for safety reasons that we can't have on there, or if there's a pending case that we don't want aired just yet,
Right.
then they will certainly listen to that. But for the most part, at least for accuracy purposes, we get a chance to check, and if there's something that is going to be if an officer says something just really dumb or just inaccurate, it's a nice way for me to kind of like, of course we have body cams, we do this as well, but we might have to go back and address something, like, hey, what, I heard you say something that maybe we need to talk about.
Quality
Right.
control.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
I'm sure
for
there's
me,
like go ahead.
I was just going to say, for me though, body cams or just watching people on film is a really good way just to kind of get a look at how our officers are treating people.
Yeah.
I've been saying for a long time, I really want our officers just to treat people like people. Like you would want your wife or your kids or your grandma, to be treated by an officer they had an encounter with. Because I think it's easy for law enforcement to, I don't know, start to just kind of have a negative outlook on things because they're dealing with all the bad all day long, and you're also dealing with a lot of people who just aren't happy to see you no matter what you're doing. And even if you're doing your job right, you're dealing with people that either disagree or they're not happy to see you because you just pulled them over for doing something they shouldn't have been doing. Or maybe it's even worse. Maybe you show up at a domestic violence situation where the last person some of those people want to see is a cop, even if they're a victim. Or it could be drugs or something like that. And so, unfortunately, the officers, they're not dealing with most people on their best day.
Yeah.
They're dealing with a lot of people on their worst day.
Right.
And so it's easy to kind of get this natural negative outlook on society when you're dealing with everybody on their worst day,
Right, right.
because
Yeah, I
you
get
just
that.
you assume the worst in a lot of people, and so you try to help them not,
Yeah.
because most people are still good.
It's that separation of like
yeah.
work and
Yeah.
what I mean?
Real life, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
leaving it there.
Yeah.
when
That's
you
the
go
best part
home.
about the show because it shows how likable all you guys are, and it's a little bit more. Because at the end of the day, like we're all just trying to have tourists come in here and have a good time, be
Right.
safe, get out of here, tell somebody else they had a good time, come down. It just helps all of us. So
Yeah,
it's kind of everybody working together. So
for sure.
I'd love to see your guys' like blooper reel or something. I
Yeah.
bet.
yeah.
I always wondered if they put one together, like if
Oh, they
if
got
they,
one somewhere.
hilarious.
I'm
Yeah.
sure they do somewhere,
Yeah.
like put that together and let us see how that would turn out.
Yeah.
But
Probably did really well, actually.
Yeah.
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 I don't know. I'd probably be scared to see what came out of that.
Oh, listen.
If you're on camera long enough, you're just
Yeah.
gonna dumb
Did you
stuff's gonna
guys
happen.
make it to the Guns and Hoses tournament?
We didn't. I heard about it when I was looking up the stuff, but
So we've done it.
looks awesome.
Yeah, this was the first year in like maybe 10 or 13 years that we've done it. And it's just a competition between us and the fire department to try to raise funds for both of our associations.
Yeah.
And we've never won. The police department has never won one of those games. I thought this year was the year, because we even brought up backup, like my son Marshall, who's a basketball player, Cordula's son JP, he's a basketball player, Newhart's son. We all like Ty, Marshall, and JP. We thought they're gonna push us over the edge, and the fire department got us by like 8 points. I think in the last 30 seconds we were down to like a 2 or 3 point game, and then they just took it away.
Do you just do it once a year? You do that?
We used to, and this is the first year in over a decade that we've done it. And we're going to try to put it back in the normal rotation because it's fun. It brings the community in, and we raised a ton of money. I think they raised almost $30,000.
That's
that we'll
huge.
split. Of course, we have we had to pay money out for a few things that we did, but it was a great way to loop the community into some of the fun. And again, just an effort to let them see the officers and the firefighters both kind of in a relaxed environment, kind of low key. And
Yeah.
I feel like it kind of pokes fun on the fact that, policemen and firefighters kind of have beef sometimes,
Yeah. I would say around here, that is typically not the case.
Yeah.
We have had a wonderful relationship with the Lake Ozark Fire for as long as I've been here,
Well, they're the first responders on stuff sometimes because there'd be like stuff at Shady Gators where someone would, break their ankle and the fire truck would show up and you're like, well, they're not on fire. And they're like, oh, but this person's
they're,
trained.
you
And,
know,
stuff like that,
paramedics.
so.
Yep.
It was a good time, though. That was a neat
We'll have to
event.
go to that.
Oh, yeah.
We can maybe help you market it. Next
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna try to do it in the spring next year. It was like
snow.
late spring, early summer this year. I think this year we did it in April.
Where's the game? Or where was the
We
game?
did it at the Heritage Elementary down there in Lake Ozark, which is kind of cool because
It's cool.
it's a neat little gymnasium that's been there forever.
Yep.
Hopefully, we grow it to the size that we can maybe have to grow out of that. And
Madison Square Garden.
that's right. You never know. We'll fly everybody
Yeah,
out.
that'd be fun.
Yeah,
Well, if you ever do anything like a foot race, maybe you can.
yeah.
Yeah.
Get
Apparently
this
he's real
Likes to
fast.
get this
so-
guy in there.
Yeah.
Like to,
Are you
He likes to race people.
are you fast? Did you get
Yeah.
new shoes?
super fast.
Yeah.
It's like a running joke, but we'll be at bars and we'll race people. I'm getting old, so I kind of should stop because I'm gonna heal.
You're gonna twist a knee or something.
I know it's coming. So yeah, but
He is fast though. I will say.
Brand-
He is
Brand's
really
up
fast.
there.
However,
He'll call me out, and I'm 7-0 in our last 7 races.
7-0.
Yeah. But I should probably stop.
What's your secret?
I don't just try hard.
Yeah.
yeah. I was
Has there
watching
been
one.
someone that's like taking off running, and you've been like, "Oh man, like,
Yep.
this guy
Yeah.
looks kind of fast," or like,
I was watching one of the episodes, I think season 1, and one of the officers, I can't remember who it was, but there was a bachelor party, and he had like a checklist on his shirt, all the stuff he had to do, and it was race a cop,
Yeah.
foot race a cop, and so he
That was a
did.
funny episode.
Did he
And-
race
but the one of the kids, the friends, they were running. And one of their friends just hits the wall.
Ran straight into the wall.
Straight in the wall. And
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
I was
It
oh
looked
my
like serious
God.
physical injury. Like you could hear
was
it.
so
like
bad.
a Wile E. Coyote thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you've got
Just,
like,
like,
3
veered
friends
off.
running, and the officer, and these 2 guys are like, okay, they're good. This guy, I don't know what he was doing. He just runs straight into like the corner of
Yeah.
the wall.
It was
Yeah,
probably
lost a tire.
good for Officer. That was Officer Huff.
Okay.
Yeah.
He works for Cole County now. But it was probably good for him because I think he was about to lose. And at least he didn't get last place.
yeah.
So
He was huffing, the other guy was puffing that wall.
that's right. He's a good dude.
I
I'm
hate
glad.
to
But
laugh
that's the
'cause he
kind
did
of
get hurt, but
that's
yeah.
the kind of like interaction though.
Yeah.
Like obviously we can't just be down there having goofing
Racing
off all
people,
night
yeah.
long.
Right.
But a few like lighthearted,
Mm-hmm.
down to earth interactions with people is really what I want our officers looking for. Again, we're not always going to be able to do that, but occasionally just getting down to earth with people.
Yeah.
That just de-escalates stuff, like you were saying. If they see
Yeah.
you earlier, and then I think like other people there have your back, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Hey guys, like you gotta
Yeah.
chill out or
Right.
something."
These
So-
guys
You
are
earn a
actually
little,
okay.
Yeah. Respect, as you
Yeah.
should. Like always, have
Yeah.
respect. But
street
But-
street cred as a young
Street
Yeah,
cred, there you go.
Yeah.
But like you said, though, it's earned,
Yeah.
and especially nowadays, just because you put a uniform on does not mean you're going to be respected, and sometimes that's valid.
yeah.
It's unfortunate, but there is an element to law enforcement that has not held the standard where it should have been, and so you got to go back there and re-earn that every time.
Yeah.
I think when we go out, especially to the areas with the large crowds, we can't just go down there expecting everybody to believe that we're, doing everything upright and honest. I mean, it'd be nice if we could, but you do have to go down there and kind of earn their trust and respect
yeah.
every time, it's another weekend.
You've seen like you have a great group of, I'm sure there's more too that we don't see on the show
Yeah.
maybe, but you guys.
We do. We have a
you're
great
running
group of officers.
A nice ship down there, so that's good, and we appreciate your
Yes.
service. And
Well, thank you very
everything,
much.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. And
Thanks Osage Beach Nutrition for keeping
Yep.
us hyped this whole sesh.
I got a blue drink because blue is the color of cops.
She's wearing
look
blue.
at you. And a blue shirt.
Yeah.
And it's 4th of July.
yeah.
Like,
Wait, how many times have you been pulled over? Are you trying to get out another ticket here?
No, I've gotten pulled over twice, and I've gotten a ticket 2 times.
0-2.
Yep.
Two.
One time I got pulled over, and I was having an allergic reaction, and that was really embarrassing. So
You were
I cried.
allergic to getting pulled over?
And the other time
My
she had to
eye
go to the
was
bathroom.
swollen, and he thought I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the
Oh my gosh.
secret.
What was the other one for, though, really?
Is speeding both times,
Oh.
and I'm not gonna say where it was, but just kidding.
Dead giveaway.
Yeah.
It's fine. Just follow the law, and then you don't have anything to complain about. People.
Easy peasy.
Just like that.
Lemon
Yep.
squeezy.
Yeah. Well, cool.
All right. Well,
Cool.
check us out next time, and we'll see you later.
Peace.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
SwifTEA.